Is Filipino time on time? Are Filipinos on time? And okay, please write your answers to those two controversial questions in the comment section. Hi, I'm Christine. Welcome to my channel, Learn to Speak Filipino for Tourists and Expats. When we talk about Filipino time or the Filipino concept or culture of time, we can't help but look back to trace our history of colonization. Before we get into anything intriguing or controversial in what I said, let's simplify matters first on how Filipinos tell time. Okay, so what is time in Filipino? Okay, um, generally we call time as panahon. Okay, panahon. Panahon is time. Okay? Panahon has a lot of meanings. Okay? Panahon is like time to do things, or your time that you devote to your activities or to your schedules. Okay? Um, Panahon is also the term used for seasons. Okay? In the Philippines, we refer to seasons in general as panahon. So, for example, panahon ng ulan, season of rain or rainy season, or panahon na umuulan. Okay? Ulan is rain. Okay? So, we also call panahon ng ulan, tag-ulan. So, tag-ulan is the rainy season in the Philippines. So, if mainit or summer, okay, or summer season, we call that tag-init, tag-init, or summer. The season of summer is called tag-init. Okay, so panahon is also the term for weather. Okay, so I can see if there's a typhoon, or the sky is dark and it's a bit cloudy and it's about to rain because there's an upcoming typhoon, then I will see masamang panahon or bad weather. So if you notice, I, I used the word panahon and I gave several meanings to it. So panahon is time in Filipino, but in those contexts. Okay? When we talk about clock time, we say oras. So we refer to clock time as oras. So if you would like, for example, to ask about the time right now, okay, then you will ask, anong oras na? Anong oras na? What time is it? Okay, so when we refer to clock time, we use the word oras. Oras came from Spanish, okay, and we adopted it in Filipino. So when we ask about clock time or the time right now as we speak, so anong oras sa bansa mo ngayon? What time is it in your country right now? So anong oras sa bansa mo ngayon? What time is it in your country right now? So, anong oras sa Pilipinas ngayon? Anong oras sa Pilipinas? What time is it in the Philippines ngayon, now? So, it's almost 5 in the afternoon. Okay? I'm making this video here in the Philippines. Okay, sa Pilipinas, ang oras, the time is almost 5 p.m. Okay? alas-singko ng hapon. Okay, almost 5 p.m. Why did I use everything in Spanish and in English? So I said almost 5 p.m. So it's not yet 5, but it's almost 5 p.m. I used that in English. I said the time in English. So I also said um, alas-singko ng hapon. Halos, almost. Okay? Halos alas-singko ng hapon. It's almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon that I'm making this video right now. Okay. Now, I didn't have anything in Filipino but Spanish, saying the time or telling the time or even using the numbers in Spanish is incorporated into the Filipino language. But in the previous videos, we also studied about numbers and counting in Filipino. So there are numbers, and we can count using Filipino numbers. So I can say halos, also almost, okay, halos, almost, ika-lima ng hapon. If you recall your lessons in numbers, okay, in Filipino, lima is 5. Okay? Lima is 5. If you haven't watched that video about counting and numbers, then after this you may look for that video. Okay, so about counting in Filipino. So what is the default of Filipinos when it comes to telling time? Okay, depends on how you view Spanish and the words for time used in Spanish and the Filipino numbers used to tell time also in Filipino. And of course, English. So because we find English shorter, so we use 5 p.m. or almost 5 p.m. We consider Spanish words for time as Filipino, and then also our own numbers, okay, and together with the sun time, okay. Now we recall again. So apart from the lessons in counting in Filipino, isa, dalawa, tatlo, we also recall one of your very first lessons or one of the first videos that we had in learning to speak Filipino was about greetings. Okay? So in greetings, we learned about sun time. So umaga, tanghali, hapon, gabi. When Filipinos use Filipino words for numbers to tell time, okay, we use the Filipino number. So for example, 5, so lima, okay? We use the word ika, or rather we use the prefix ika, okay, which tells you the order, okay? Which tells you the order. So it's attached to the number. So you say ika, and then ika, then lima, ika-lima. And then we say the sun time. So we say ika-lima ng hapon. So that means 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So when we use Spanish, which is numbers, okay, to tell time, we also use it together with the Filipino sun time. So like what I said earlier, ika-lima ng hapon or 5 p.m., 5 o'clock in the afternoon in English. Or I can say alas-singko is Spanish, okay? I attach again ng, okay? Alas-singko ng followed by hapon, okay? To distinguish 5 o'clock in the morning. So alas-singko ng hapon is 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So if I want to say alas-singko ng umaga, okay, that is 5 o'clock in the morning because umaga is morning. If I say alas-singko ng hapon, then that's 5 o'clock in the afternoon because hapon is in the afternoon. All right, so when we use Spanish words, okay, to tell time, if you're familiar or with the Spanish numbers, or if your first language is Spanish, or if you learned if you learned about Spanish and you can speak it, then you can use the Spanish times, okay, the Spanish words for time. You attach the ng, okay, the nang, which we pronounce as nang, and then you attach the sun time in Filipino. So if I want to say 2 o'clock p.m., okay, 2 o'clock p.m., alas-dos, 2 o'clock, okay, alas-dos is 2 o'clock, to distinguish it from early in the morning or dawn, early in the morning, then you say alas-dos ng hapon, 2 o'clock p.m. Or in Filipino, you can put again ika, okay, and then assimilate, change, remove the dalawa, remove the first syllable in dalawa rather. So if you say dalawa is 2, we have to put ika and then the number in Filipino. So you say ika-dalawa, but we do not say ika-dalawa. Okay, we remove the first syllable and combine ika and the rest of the syllables minus the first syllable of the word dalawa. So then, 2 o'clock in the afternoon is ika-lawa ng hapon in Filipino. Of course, if you want to use 2 a.m., if you want to express 2 a.m., then you can say ika-lawa ng umaga. Okay, ika-lawa ng umaga. So when we ask about time or clock time, we say anong oras na. Okay, let's do that again. Anong oras na? What time is it? So I'd like to ask again, anong oras na sa bansa mo? What time is it now anong oras na sa bansa mo? What time is it now in your country? So you can answer in 3 different ways. So you can answer, for example, 8 o'clock in the morning. So alas-8 ng umaga. Or 8 is 8 in Filipino. Okay? So I put the prefix ika, then I will say ika-walo, that's 8 o'clock. And then I will say in the morning, so I will say ika-walo ng umaga. Then you change. If it's in the evening, then you say ika-walo ng gabi. So knowing how to tell time in Filipino and when you're in the Philippines, in our culture and in our language, how do we tell time? Okay? I just would like to clarify, okay, that we seldom use the Filipino numbers to tell the time. Okay, so for example, when someone asks you, anong oras na? What time is it now? You answer alas-singko. So if it's a context, it's hapon, then you don't have to say hapon. But usually we say alas-singko ng hapon. But if it's in context and you know it's the afternoon, then you can just say alas-singko. All right? Or 5 o'clock. So you're in the same time zone, okay, unless it's in the Philippines and specified or in your country. So for example, anong oras na? Then in the context of the conversation, then you can just say alas-singko. Okay? I could say rare or close to none. Okay? That Filipinos, no chance that Filipinos will tell you when you ask them, will answer you when you ask them, anong oras na? They will tell you, ika-lima ng hapon. Okay? The Filipino numbers used to tell or express time are used in formal institutions or informal context, like in the government, okay, or in the schools. So like formal invitations of graduation or maybe talk or party, and it comes from the government or it comes from the institution or schools, then the invitations or even in the programs, okay, we use the Filipino time. So let's say ika-lima ng hapon, okay, or ika-walo ng umaga. We use the Filipino time in formal context. All right, so it's up to you how you will answer the question, anong oras na? Okay. You can answer it in English because it's shorter, or if you have Spanish background or you can speak Spanish or that's your first language, then you can also answer in using the Spanish words for time or for numbers, and you just add the phrase ng followed by the sun time of umaga, hapon, and gabi. Okay, so I hope you practice how to tell time using the context that I gave you. And in the next video, we will talk about calendar time. Thank you for watching. Salamat po.